Hey gang, it's BATJAC J.W. coming to you, and it's a 1911 video. I figured out I figured that I would bring out so many 1911s that I own, some of them, and in a sense talk about them and my romance with the 1911. Hopefully you love 1911s too. If not, I guess maybe this video is not for you. No, but all joking aside, I love the 1911. It's my favorite semi-automatic handgun, bar none. So many years ago when I used to go shoot with all these guys, a lot older than me, and still older than me. In fact, some of them unfortunately have passed on. But I remember going out and shooting. My very first one was a good buddy of mine named Tim, and he said, "You know what?" He goes, "Let me let you shoot mine." And I did. And I said, "Boy, I got to get me one of these." At the time, I was shooting a Beretta 92 and a Glock 17, and I said, "I got to get me one of these 1911 gigs." And he told me, and this is mark the words, and I'm going to tell it to you too, if you have not bought one yet, it won't be your last one. As you can see, the sickness spreads. Anyway, but yeah, as far back as I can remember when I wanted to get these things, and it took me a lot of years of searching and holding out for prices, because I'm not, unfortunately I was never blessed with a whole bunch of Benjamins. So it really makes it hard when you're trying to buy some of these things and you may or may not be able to afford it like myself. But if you hold out long enough like I have, and a lot of times it's not because I was patient, because I'm definitely not patient. It's because I didn't have the finances. But I also was very fortunate to have friends in the business that was able to allow me to say, oh yeah, layaway is a wonderful thing. Maybe not for you financially, but it is a wonderful thing so you can get a hold of these things. Also bartering and trading and everything like that. And then of course, when I had worked at the shop over there on the islands, I was able to acquire some of the cool stuff anyway. So rolling through it, I always wanted a Colt. That's just me. There's something about it, and I said, it's something iconic with that name. And I'm not going to lie, there's quite a few of them here that are of that maker. There's so many of them that make brands out there that make them and everything, and actually, ironically, some of my favorite ones are not. So, but going all the way back through there, without a shadow of a doubt, it's got to be this one. This is a model of the original World War I replica that Colt had done, reintroduction or reproduction of their pistol. But I mean, who better to reintroduce this back onto the market than Colt themselves? I chased after one of these for so long, I can't even count how many countless and sleepless nights I wanted to get a hold of one of these things. Now they're floating around out there. They've gone up in price lately, and of course I had no desires of selling mine. So when I got mine, it was brand new in the box, and I shot it. I took it out to the range, slapped the mag in, and definitely started going to town and working on steel plates with it. And I shot this pistol a lot. It's one of my favorites of all time, because by just the overall glance of it, this is exactly what it would have looked like back in the day if you would have bought one of these or had issued one of these things in World War I. Got the smooth flat mainspring housing, got the lanyard, the double diamond checkered walnut grips there, which are gorgeous, and the roll marks. It's all about them roll marks, man. When you see that and it says, the patent dates, Colt's manufacturing company, Hartford, Connecticut, USA, and United States property. They went as far as that to put that right here on the lower part of the frame, on the correct side of the frame, I might add. And then on the other side, it says model of 1911 U.S. Army. Really cool stuff. It's nothing to write home about because it's pretty plain Jane. They even went through and added that short beaver tail grip safety there with that claw hammer that does chew you up pretty good right there on the webbing of your hand. But I love it. Long trigger there. Horrible sights, but you know what? It is true to the old original, and I'm glad to have it. And I used to have an original one made in 1918. I since then sold it to a good buddy of mine. He really wanted it, and it didn't really do much for me. It was a very worn gun. So anyhow, stepping in there to stick with the going on through the classics. Now, I've had that one there for a long time. All right, I've had that there for that one in my collection for many, many years. Don't ever plan on getting rid of it. So, sticking with that, another one I picked up. This one here is a commercial model made in 1930. This is a Colt, and this is just really cool because the commercial market was that market that was basically an exact copy of the war gun, only with a beautiful polished blued finish. All the parts and everything are pretty much the same, but it's just got that really gorgeous finish on it. And the stampings, I love the roll marks on these much better than the military ones. Personally, I think there's a C prefix in the serial number, so it does. It definitely is on the collector radar market and everything. So, and it's got just gorgeous roll marks. I love that. I wish they would go back to something like that. And on the other side, that big, you know, you won't be able to see it, but I got videos on all of these. You can see it on the channel. That big COLT right there. Automatic Colt 45, or, you know, or caliber 45 with the rampant pony and everything. And then it says government model. That's what they would designate these commercial guns as, the government models. All right. So, speaking of government models, got the trusty Mark IV Series 70. This is just a wonderful pistol, 1911, whatever. The 70s comes out, you know, and these are they still got them, and basically it's still a continuation of these commercial guns. Now they've changed it up quite a bit since the you know, the old commercial guns from the pre-war or post-war series in the 50s and stuff, and then during the 60s, that's when they started to kind of go to more something like this. This is just kind of another variation of it. The roll marks, some people don't, they find them kind of ugly, rather. It's kind of a billboard type roll mark where it just says Colts Mark IV Series 70, government model, 45 automatic caliber with the rampant pony. The flats of the guns are polished, and they start going to where the rounds are kind of a matted finish, so that it reduces the glare, and it kind of adds a little cosmetic thing to it, of course. And then they sighted the hammer, the trigger's nickel. Beautiful piece. What makes them a true Series 70, this one does have its collet barrel bushing. It's got the fingers on it to help grip the barrel for improved accuracy on them. So they actually are really accurate pistols. They're really nice. And that's, of course, later as a Series 80, known as, where they added the firing pin system in it, where it's a firing pin block system in it. A lot of people are not a fan of that. It doesn't really bother me. Trigger pulls, you know, almost the same. You get definitely a better trigger pull with the 70 series, but it doesn't bother me all that much. So, and of course, the trusty war model, World War II, original vintage. This one's got definitely some character on it, which I wanted. I didn't want one that was so brand new in the box that, you know, I wanted one that looked like it probably was been there, seen it, and if it could talk, you could sit there for nights on end talking to this thing. I tell you, really cool. This one's a 1942 vintage. Definitely one of my favorites. Got the GHD inspector mark right there, so it is proper slide to frame. The Colt rampant pony in the middle. Gorgeous stuff. United States property. Oh boy. Not, you know, it hasn't been altered, it hasn't been arsenally reworked or anything like that. M1911A1 U.S. Army right here. So they extended the grip safety, they arched the mainspring housing. This one has this checkered mainspring housing, as would be correct to Colt. It doesn't have the reinforcement rings on the keys grips around the screw holes here, and it proves that it's a little older, and it got a lot of proof markings and everything like that. The hammer is still a wide spur hammer, but they extended that grip safety to reduce that hammer bite. Still terrible sights. Being it's an earlier production gun, it does have a, I believe it's a milled trigger, not a stamped trigger and everything, but I love this thing. This thing is really cool. And of course it's got that awesome kind of green finish to it, and it's still retaining most of it, and really dark in the color, so it hasn't been worn down too much. So, all right, now as kind of moved on to the collecting and everything, I actually grew to become a very favor of the, and I'm going to say it, and some people are going to really 9mm 1911. I know. Believe me, I will say it right now, just to rest all the hearts and everything. I will always be a dyed-in-the-wool guy. The Colt 45, the 45 automatic pistol. That's the way to go. But I know I started to get into the 9mm in it, and it is what a sweet shooter it is. And it started really, and I was that guy when I first started getting into these. I was that guy that said, no way in hell if I gonna own one in 9mm. But I tell you what happened was I ended up getting one, and it just this was one that I just had to. I picked it up. It was a total luck of the draw getting involved in what this one right here. I picked it up from a friend of mine, and I tell you, so it's a Colt Commander. It's in 9mm, and that became something I for a while I didn't even shoot it. For a while there I didn't shoot it, but I went out shooting with my good buddy, Carry One, by the way, check his channel out. I went out shooting with him for the first time. I brought this thing along. I almost didn't shoot it, but he handed me a box of ammo. He says, you're going to shoot this thing. So I started shooting it. I said, whoa, this is it. And it was just, I was really accurate with it. A lot better. I shot it better than I normally can shoot, which is pretty terrible. But I said, boy, I can really shoot that thing. And I Carry One, he told me, he says, you better keep that gun. And you know what? I did. I hung on to it, and then it kind of started to grow on me, and it kind of turned into kind of a craziness. So I picked up this, and which is one of my absolute favorites. If I go to the range, I'm bringing this. This goes with me. When I used to work for a indoor range, and I you have to qualify to carry your pistol there and everything, which is a job requirement. This was it for a while. This is the Springfield Armory Ronin 9mm Commander variant with a lightweight frame. Yes, you know what? This is such a wonderful package. I learned about this by listening to one of my favorite guys, which is Ken Hackathorn. Yes, Ken Hackathorn is the one that turned me onto it. And lightweight frame with that 9mm package. Boy, that's the way to go right there. So, a couple honorable mentions. The TSOS full-size government model, 9mm. I picked that one up. All right. Of course, you guys seen this one, the Colt Combat Elite, 9mm. This one here is the polished slide or flats and everything with the blued rounded ends there. And of course, something I did not think I would get, the Wilson Combat CQB in 45 ACP, full size, awesome stuff. I tell you, I always said, you know, if I ever got my hands on one, I would love to check it out, and I did right there. The custom work on that is, you know, I get it. It's not in the budget range for most people, not even myself. Again, gotta love layaway, but I ended up pulling the trigger on that, got it, glad I did, zero regrets on buying that thing. So before I close this one off, because I didn't want to take too long, I got a wild card for you, and what that wild card is, Browning High Power. Yeah, you knew I had to throw that in there, a Browning High Power. There you go. I'm BATJAC J.W. Thanks for hanging out and listening to the 1911 Talk.